My video today is about a simple subject with a surprisingly mysterious past. It's the Wizards of the Coast Black Star 49 promo, Snorlax, illustrated by Craig Turvey, created for the only Wizards contest to ever actually produce a real card. I spoke with Craig Turvey himself. Our conversation, which I figured would focus on artistic creativity, quickly turned to one of unknown finalists, vote manipulation, server outages, and an entire team of Wizards unwilling to acknowledge that this competition ever happened. Here now are those interviews. Hey, is this Craig Turvey?
This is him.
So could you describe how the contest was run?
Entry forms were passed out in the Pokémon League, and then you just did up your artwork, mailed it into them. They chose their top 10 favorites, put it online, and whoever got the most votes won. I was for sure that the one was going to win. The two Snorlax's sumo wrestlers going against each other. I thought that one was going to win for sure.
That's a good Snorlax sport. So thinking about the drawing itself, could you explain more about why you chose to draw another Pokemon?
The whole Eevee idea is just kind of add a little cuteness to it. And
people are voting online. You included a cat-looking thing. It's a good choice.
I went to E3 with my friends every year for 10 years straight.
Awesome.
You know, I was still in college at the time. I was down there and they hadn't announced any winners yet, and Wizards of the Coast had a showing. So I went up there and asked if they announced who the winner is on this, and they made a couple calls. It's like, yeah, it's some guy named Craig Turvey. So I pointed at my E3 registration bag. It said Craig Turvey, and like, oh my god!
Holy shit!
So, yeah, I got a few pictures with me and congratulated me and stuff.
Did they officially tell you won later? Like, was there a normal method, like a letter or something?
No, I never got anything official, aside from the original entry.
Oh my god.
Basically just kind of a flat hand, slap on the back, handshake, a few photos at E3, and that's the last I heard.
Wow. I mean, in these past even 20 years, have you ever officially spoken with Wizards about it?
Nope, just the little conversation we had at E3.
Jeez.
Prize for the contest was that they framed and matted my original entry, and then a card front and back, and a little plaque that says Illustrator Craig Turvey. They also did a photocopy of it, sent it to the league, which was the store. And so when I quit working at the store, it was just hanging in the manager's office.
Huh.
So I asked the store owner, it's like, well, is there anything going on with this? And it's like, oh, no, you can go ahead and take it. So I got that one, and I gave that one to my mom.
Although I was unable to locate a photo of this copy, artist renditions show it might look something like this. So I know you mentioned signings to me and that you sold a batch of those recently. Could you tell me more about that?
Recently, I had a friend that I wanted to help out a little bit, so I did a limited run. I figured that they'd maybe sell for about 300 or so, and I'm kind of amazed. The lowest one I saw was going for 750 and all the way up to like $2,000.
Wow.
Helped him out with this new house and get his family started and everything.
Woo. So that much money being generated, did it have you thinking about doing a batch for yourself?
I might do a post-mortem batch.
Oof. I'm just oofing at you calling it a post-mortem batch. We'll call it a fainted batch. How about that?
Yeah.
If you had to cut off a part to look like Van Gogh, which part would you cut off?
Probably the right pinky, because being a programmer,
yeah,
I don't really use the semicolon.
Sure. Well, you could give him the Baba Yaga finger. Any other interesting stories before I get going?
One of the time, one of my friends was in the computer lab, and he was voting on my thing over and over. And some other people asked him what he was doing. Well, he told them the story, and so he had like a whole row of people. So maybe that helped. I don't know, but still kind of cool.
Me and Craig finished speaking off camera, where we discussed all the good things that you don't get to hear about. I wanted to hear more about the situation, but of course, there's not much to go off. Luckily, Craig helped me get in touch with one of his fellow league members from back in the day, who he said would remember things even better than he did. Here's Kirk Unruh. I have heard that you were at Craig Turvey's league at the time.
I'm Craig Turvey, and yes, I was. I was also one of the other league leaders at the league.
One fun story that I heard from Craig himself is he said that some of his friends at school sat there and got a whole bench of computers going and were just repeat voting, trying to make sure that he got in. Do you remember that?
I do. I was one of them.
How many times do you think you guys voted?
I'll just say, I know I voted at least 200 times.
How many people do you think were voting for Craig?
I'm pretty sure everyone in the league, because a lot of them were young. So we had a lot of young students. We had a few of the high school students and middle school students, anywhere between 20 and 30.
Wow. So it wasn't just people from his college, it was also people from his league.
Yes.
I gotta wonder, it's 2002, the internet isn't very strong yet, and you have a bank of 20, 30 people voting around 200 times. I wonder if it knocked down Wizards servers.
It's very possible.
After hearing these shocking revelations from Craig and Kirk, I figured I wanted to hear Wizards' side of things. So I reached out to a bunch of my Wizards connects. I figured it wouldn't really be a huge deal. They've already talked to me about things like Jamboree. I didn't think that something like a Wizards create a card contest would be a big deal. However, every Wizards employee I spoke with said they had no idea what employee or employees actually ran the contest, let alone what department. And every single employee said that they were not personally involved. In fact, not a single employee could even remember the contest until I spoke with Wizards' own forum moderator, Nick15. I reached out and was able to speak with Nick15 on the subject. His response was shocking. He remembered very little about the contest because he was too distracted at that time from much of his data going down. So you at one point mentioned to me, to some degree, archiving was down for 3 months around that time period.
Archive.org didn't archive much of anything on the site. So
none of it.
Since it was in 2002, there's nothing that I could dig up. That's where I suggested the WizPog forums, which fortunately there's an archive of that.
So I looked through the archive you sent me, and whether you're looking on the Internet Archive or looking at your scrape, all of them missed the period where the voting was actually live. The best I could find was I found a university from France that someone published a thesis paper on the nature of the Internet, and they used screenshots of the time. And one of their screenshots is of the voting page. So I brought all this up with some of my other Wizards contacts. I was just kind of looking for, do you remember what was your favorite art maybe, or, just kind of fluff questions. And literally every other person said that they do not remember or have any idea who ran it, which was insane to me. And that was sort of where I was at for a few days until I actually found that Mike Boozer, Mike Gills, Patrick Swift at least were running it on the consumer end of things. And I found several forum reports where they're talking about it and they're fielding questions. But so now I've got the situation where these people who seemingly ran this seemingly very non-taboo thing refuse to talk on it and all say they don't remember it, even though they all remember these crazy specific things from other crazy specific things that I've just been interviewing them about. And I don't mean anything bad, but it's such a weird response.
Something must have happened after the case where, I don't know, maybe they weren't supposed to run it. And Japan had hired Wizards to basically translate a novel. And now Wizards is asking to insert their own chapter into the novel. Maybe they weren't supposed to run that contest. And they weren't supposed to put a non-Japanese artist on those cards, but because they went so far into it, their hands were tied, fine, we'll let you do this, but you really weren't supposed to do this. And so, you're still not allowed to talk about it, even 20 years after the fact. I don't know, that's just an assumption off the top of my head.
Craig's friends voted at least 200 times.
Oh, jeez.
So my question is, could that behavior have maybe DDoS'd the website, causing a downage?
Okay, now here's the thing. So we're talking about 2002. We're talking about the early years of the internet before any of this stuff could be reasonably tracked. It's not like anyone can actually track where the votes are coming from back then. Yeah. Wizards had egg on their face. Nintendo of America had egg on their face. And then, once word got out, it was probably just something they wanted to sweep under the rug, make it go away. But they didn't even notice. They didn't even think to notice that. Why is this one so spiked relative to everyone else? They probably just say, that guy's the winner. No,
doesn't work.
Didn't put much thought into it. I don't blame them for not thinking about it because early years of the internet, they didn't know. They just thought, hey, this one's just a bang-up winner. It's great. It will look great on a card. Yeah, I think we're good. I think we found our winner.
I figured it was time to speak with Craig Turvey again and hear his opinions on these discoveries. Here's that conversation. What's weird to me is I brought this up with them, and then when I showed those chat logs to them, they fervently shut down the conversation and refused to respond.
Maybe there was some sort of legality issue with it
Sure.
that they're trying not to have too openly made.
So when I was speaking with Kirk, he said that he remembered that there was closer to 30 people who were voting for you when the votes were up, when the votes were live. Do you remember that?
Well, he may be remembering people from the league.
So there was people voting in the computer lab, but then also league people voting.
Yeah.
And it sounds like people were voting perhaps as much as 200 or more times each. So I wonder if that number wouldn't have been enough to take down the Wizards servers, which did go down at that time. And could Wizards have been ashamed that that happened?
Possibly. I mean, it's really hard to say.
I noticed through some of my research that the contest was at least partially hosted on Pokemon.com as well, which would mean that Pokemon.com may also then have experienced outages, which would be a really embarrassing thing for Wizards to have made happen.
Just kind of curious, but it's one of those things where you're never really going to know for sure.
Yeah, it's just such a bizarre thing. Anyway, what a weird and cool mystery. Hey, thanks for speaking to me today, by the way.
Not a problem. Good talking with you.
After speaking with Craig, I might have actually found the answer to these mysteries. And it all came from an old-ass Angel Fire page with like a Vulpix, static background, auto-downloaded MIDI file, that sort of fun stuff. So that had a link to the contemporaneously live URL, which had a slightly different URL than I'd ever tried. And check this out. I got some live assets, but I also got a link to the rules page for the first time. So let me just go over that with you. Holy shit. Looking at the rules, I think I finally might have some of the solutions to this, actually. There's some crazy shit here. I'll just dive right to the big parts. I think the two solves here that might indicate why this whole thing got buried are this portion, where it clearly says under part 3, 1 vote per person / email address. So that certainly didn't get followed, and it didn't get followed for the number 1 winner, so the other thing that was a huge red flag was under 5 eligibility. It specifically says employees of Wizards of the Coast are not eligible to participate in the contest. No, I got that part where Patrick Swift is specifically saying they're going to enter Mike Boozer's art. So honestly, putting everything together, that's probably what it was. The combination of the vote flooding and the Wizards employees entering and admitting they entered. Let's look at some of the other highlights in the rules, though. They're really crazy. Right here it says creativity was 40%, drawing talent was 40%, and overall presentation was 20%. All right. Another interesting part was that the winner was apparently supposed to be notified by mail and or phone within 30 days of selection.
So that was a fucking lie.
Another part that was completely crazy to me was here in part 4, prize, where they describe Craig's original work being framed, matted, and returned to him. They're saying the value of that is approximately 250 USD. That's less than any single one of his signed cards went for, or even he thought they would go for. That's funny as hell to me. Can I give you, Craig, can I give you $250 for that, please? It's fair value, apparently. Also, how did they get to decide the value of Craig's art? Was the framing worth $250? That's fine, but you don't get to say that his art you don't know the amount. Finally, part 6 here has some of the nitty-gritty. This gets really legalese really fast, and it looks like Wizards of the Coast actually thought some of this stuff might happen. And although it clearly sucked, I think Wizards did protect themselves with the conditions here. If I break this out to make it like a little bit easier to read, basically what it says is that Wizards is not responsible for any sort of errors or any technical malfunctions, or any malfunctions of any kind, or inaccurate transmission of voting information, or failure to receive voting information because of traffic congestion. So they did actually build a clause into the rules about if this happens, not on us. So the 1 vote thing is probably more an issue with Craig, but the no Wizards entry thing is definitely the biggest issue. By the way, I thought the combo of the Wizards chat log, where they specifically say that Mike Boozer's art will be entered, in addition to this part, where it specifically says that Wizards employees can't enter, was like not a great look. So I messaged Mike Gills, Mike Boozer, and Patrick Swift, all with these screenshots, asking for their responses. All 3 declined to respond. But guess what? It actually doesn't end there. After some research, I was actually able to find art for 5 of the other finalist cards. Please enjoy these arts, which haven't been seen in about 20 years. To go over those with me now, here's Jarvis Johnson.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready. Oh, dude, the quality of these so high quality.
So I think they moved the basic Pokemon layer. Look under basic Pokemon.
Here?
Chunk of black. It gets like way thicker.
Oh, it does look like it's those basic Pokemon.
Right? And
What?
he's watching
Yeah.
football. I think it says Poke Soda, but I mean, he's clearly getting
Poke
choicey,
soda,
right?
Yeah. Oh, a football. It does. I thought it was one of those like radio, those tiny radio TVs.
There's like a bag of chips.
Oh yeah, this.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, this looks pretty comfy. It's just like vegging out and having a good Sunday.
Yeah. Pokemon Power, ignore your kids and wife, have a good Sunday.
All
All right,
right.
you want to look at number 2?
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Oh,
I like this one.
This one really, it feels like a Neo card.
Yeah.
Like a Neo era. Obviously, you like got to clean it up and stuff, but I think it works.
Is that ashtray under his arm?
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, we've got ice cream cone, cookie, cake.
It's a paper plate for ice cream and for pizza. And
Oh, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
this looks like a birthday cake, maybe?
yeah. So clearly what's happened here is he's been poisoned.
Oh, yeah, because he's got like X's on his eyes. This is cool. It's like alternate realities,
Yeah.
Number 3, here we go. Aw, this is cute.
I got a theory about this one. I found an old chat log where Mike Boozer says that if there's not enough entrants that they think are good, that one of the Wizards people will submit a entry themselves to make sure there's at least one good entry. And then I found this entry, and I'm looking at this Snorlax, or this Gengar with his weird curly spikes instead of, right? And then I'm looking at my signed card right here with his curly spikes.
Oh, I can see it. I do love the multiple Pokemon in a... I feel like you didn't see that as often. You would see it in trainer cards and stuff. But this is cool. All right, let's jump into it. Oh, this is kind of similar.
Damn.
It's kind of similar to the other one.
He's a little
What's happening?
dead, isn't he?
Yeah, it looks successfully poisoned here.
Yeah, right?
I'm just trying to see, like, what is this, like, terrain that he's on?
You ever drive through Inglewood and there's all those oil mills?
Okay, yeah, no, I can see that. I would be depressed too. I get it.
Yeah.
This one's a little more abstract for sure.
He's got the Urshifu mitts, or are those 240s, or like what's he got packed?
No, it looks like he's already fainted, right? Because that's like, these are like the little the birds flying around his head. I feel like maybe you don't want to depict a knocked out Pokemon on a Pokemon card, but
like there's peacefully asleep and there's passed the fuck out.
Yeah. All right, let's jump into the final one. Oh, I like this.
This one's adorable.
He's having a peaceful dream after seeing all of the Snorlax going through hell.
So is that the exact gray of a normal monster, I wonder?
Oh, like on the borders here.
Mm-hmm.
Just from the framing of it, it just like it fits. You'd probably have like some sort of illustrated background. You know how many cards they did the like illustrated background with like a Ken Sugimori stock piece of art over it. This is super cool. Yeah, thanks for including me.
Yeah, I really appreciate you collabing.
Yeah, man, definitely don't be a stranger. Like dogs say bark in America, but they make a different sound in like Japan.
Yeah. They say
Well, what a pleasure this was.
oh god, you can't end it on me thinking of nothing.
No, you got it. That's the magic of editing. You gotta cut that out so that. Oh man. Well, what a pleasure this was.
Why did the chicken cross the road? To fulfill the joke, waka waka. Hey, hope you liked this one too. Let me know if there's any in particular you'd like to see. I'm considering one about some of my Grail work, specifically a 5-digit US deal that went off, or focusing on other more recent Pokemon topics. Remember, without your donations, Kermit will die. He's serious. Don't fuck around. If you keep poking this guy, he's gonna crack. No, I definitely... Yes, you will, I can tell.
Oh man. Well, what a pleasure this was.
Hey, the jokes.
Oh man. Well, what a pleasure this was.
Hey, have you also noticed the overlap between Seinfeld and Black Panther 2?